Mobile games have gained a lot of relevance in recent years. Developing them can be quite a challenge, so a little help is always welcome. In this video, we will talk about Ultimate Joystick Pro, an asset that makes mobile game development less complicated and helps users get the most out of their projects. So here we have a simple scene. A player that contains a character controller, to which we will add movement. The first thing we will do is create a script called player controller. We drag it to our player object. Open the script and get the player's character controller in a variable called character controller. In the update function, we will create a vector3 that will take input from our keyboard. Now we will move the character controller using the vector created earlier. However, the movement won't be complete without a speed variable. Once done, we set the speed. In this case, the speed will be 15. We press play, and that's it. Now we can move our player. However, what we want is to move our player with a joystick. To do this, we go to Package Manager and search for the asset called Ultimate Joystick Pro. If you don't have it, you can find the link to the asset in the description of this video. Once downloaded, proceed to import it. Alright, now we will create a canvas and inside it an empty object. Select the empty object and name it Joystick. Now, the most important part, we will search for and add the joystick component. And that's it. Now we have our joystick on the screen. The next thing we're going to do is make this joystick work. We're going to open the player controller script and write at the top of the code using formatgames.virtualjoystick.pro. Then we'll declare a variable named joystick of type joystick. All right, now we don't need this code, so we're going to disable it. Instead, we'll use the axes returned by the joystick. For horizontal, we'll use joystick.axis.x. And for vertical, joystick.axis.y. And that's it. All right, we select the player object and notice that there is a slot for the joystick object. Now, the next thing we'll do is select the joystick object. We drag it here and drop it. The joystick should work now. Let's hit play. As we can see, the joystick fulfills its function and is very intuitive to use. Now let's talk about what this joystick offers. Let's start with its main settings, which are axis type, axis constraint, joystick type, and transition type. First, let's talk about axis type. This feature determines how the joystick processes directional input. We have two modes here, angle and cross. Angle mode allows for full 360-degree directional input, making it ideal for games that require precise control over movement, like twin-stick shooters or flight simulators. Cross mode restricts input to the four cardinal directions, up, down, left, and right. This is perfect for platformers or games that benefit from straightforward, linear movements. Next, we have axis constraint. This feature limits the joystick's movement to either horizontal or vertical planes. In horizontal mode, the joystick can only move left and right. This is particularly useful for side-scrolling games or racing games where horizontal control is key. Vertical mode restricts movement to up and down. This is ideal for games that involve vertical scrolling or climbing mechanics. Moving on to joystick type. There are two modes here, default and custom. Default mode restricts the joystick to its standard functionality, suitable for most basic control schemes. Custom mode unlocks two additional Unity events, on touch and on release. On touch allows you to trigger actions as soon as the joystick is touched, perfect for games that require immediate feedback, like starting an animation or playing a sound. On release triggers actions when the joystick is no longer touched, which is useful for stopping actions or resetting states in your game. Finally, let's discuss transition type, which controls the joystick's visual behavior. There are three modes: default, show on touch, and highlight on touch. Default mode keeps the joystick static without any visual changes. Show on touch makes the joystick appear on the screen when touched and disappear when released. This is great for mobile games, keeping the screen clear until the joystick is needed. Highlight on touch shows a faint, disabled view of the joystick, which brightens when touched. This provides a visual cue to players indicating where the joystick will appear. All right, let's dive right in and explore the various customization options and advantages that the Ultimate Joystick Pro offers to enhance the user experience in your games. We've already covered how to set up the joystick. Now let's go into the customization options in detail. Ratio. The ratio is the maximum limit that the joystick will reach when dragged on the screen. In our implementation, this limit is visualized in the scene window through a white circle representing the maximum area where the joystick can move. This is especially useful to ensure the joystick doesn't move too far and maintains a controlled and precise response. Next, we have the dead zone. The dead zone is the minimum distance from the center of the joystick needed for it to start returning values on the X and Y axes. This helps prevent false touches or unintentional joystick movements. In our scene window, the dead zone is visualized with a blue circle, clearly showing the area where the joystick will have no effect. Moving on to the background size, this parameter determines the size of the joystick background, which is typically a circle. Adjusting the background size can help players have a better visual reference of the joystick's interactive area, improving the usability of the control. Background alpha. This determines how transparent the joystick background will be. Adjusting this value can be useful for better integrating the joystick with the game's visual design, allowing the background to be more or less visible as needed. Handle shadow size. Now let's talk about the handle shadow size. This is the shadow that appears behind the joystick handle, also known as the dot or handle, and it gives the joystick a more aesthetic and three-dimensional effect. You can adjust the size of this shadow to achieve the desired visual effect. Handle shadow alpha. The handle shadow alpha allows you to change the opacity of the handle shadow. This can help achieve better visual integration of the joystick in the game, making the shadow more subtle or prominent as preferred. The handle size allows you to change the size of the joystick handle, which is the part that the player drags with their finger. Adjusting this size can improve the accessibility and precision of the joystick control, ensuring it is comfortable for players to use. Handle alpha. Finally, we have the handle alpha. This parameter allows you to adjust the opacity of the joystick handle. Changing this value can help the joystick integrate better with the game's design, making the handle more or less visible as needed. Now let's talk about some additional features that can enhance the user experience of our joystick asset. These features are animated mode, show inspector, return axis on release, and track last direction. Animated mode. Animated mode gives you the option to control how the handle returns to its default position when released. You have two choices here. One, interpolated return. The handle smoothly transitions back to its default position, creating a more polished and immersive experience. 2, snapback. The handle instantly snaps back to its default position, offering a quick reset. When animated mode is enabled, two additional options become available. Rotate background. This option allows the background to rotate with the angle of the joystick handle while it's being dragged. It adds a dynamic visual effect that can enhance immersion. Rotate handle. Similar to rotate background, this option makes the handle rotate with the angle of the joystick handle during movement, further enhancing the interactive feel. Show inspector. The Show Inspector option is designed for developers who need to debug or fine-tune the joystick settings during runtime. When enabled, this option displays the public variables of the joystick directly in the inspector window. This is particularly useful since the joystick uses a custom editor that, by default, only shows the custom inspector, not the full joystick script inspector. Return axis on release. This feature controls the behavior of the joystick's axis input when the handle is released. When enabled, the joystick input retains the last direction's parameters before releasing the handle. For example, if the user moves the handle in a certain direction, the input will maintain that direction's values upon release. During use, the axis or input remains at 0, 0. If this option is disabled, the input will function normally, returning values continuously while the joystick is in use. Track last direction. The track last direction feature keeps track of the last direction the joystick was moved before the handle was released. This can be particularly useful in games or applications where knowing the last input direction is important for gameplay mechanics or user feedback. Touch zone spawning. One of the standout features of this joystick is its ability to spawn in a touch zone. When the user taps a specific part of the screen, the joystick will appear right there. This functionality is essential for mobile games, as it provides a seamless and intuitive user experience. Players can interact with the game effortlessly, making the controls feel natural and responsive. Enhances user experience by allowing flexible joystick placement, adapts to various gameplay scenarios and screen sizes. Debugging options. Developers know the importance of debugging. Our joystick asset comes with robust debugging options to ensure your project runs smoothly. You can monitor the joystick's behavior and interactions, helping you verify that everything is functioning as intended. Benefits. Simplifies the troubleshooting process, ensures the joystick behaves correctly under different conditions. Customizing joystick appearance. A joystick should not only function well, but also look great. Our asset allows you to customize every aspect of its appearance. You can add textures to the background, handle shadow, and handle itself. We've included a set of stylized joystick textures to give your game a professional touch. Additionally, you can tweak the colors to match your game's aesthetic perfectly. Customization options include background textures, handle shadow textures, handle textures, color adjustments for each element. The Ultimate Joystick Pro comes with 3 key components: arrow, cross, and tail. Each component adds a unique element to the joystick, making it more intuitive and visually appealing. Arrow. The arrow is a dynamic feature that follows the handle's angle. This provides a clear visual representation of the player's movements. As the handle moves, the arrow adjusts accordingly, giving immediate feedback on the direction and angle of the movement. Why it's useful: enhances player control by providing precise movement feedback, makes gameplay more intuitive by visually indicating direction. Cross. The cross is a helpful component that indicates the joystick's direction. It serves as a guide for players, making it easier to navigate and control their movements. With the cross, players can quickly and accurately determine the joystick's position and direction. Benefits. Improves navigation and control. Provides a clear visual cue for joystick direction. Tail. The tail is a stylish addition that moves with the handle, giving the joystick a polished and animated look. It adds a layer of sophistication to the joystick's appearance, making it more engaging for players. The tail's movement is smooth and synchronized with the handle, enhancing the overall visual experience. Advantages: adds a polished professional look to the joystick, enhances the visual appeal with smooth, animated movements. And that's it. Ultimate Joystick Pro is designed to enhance your game's user experience and visual appeal. With these features, you can create a more intuitive and engaging control system for your players. Thank you for watching. See you next time.